Welcome to the Tech Panel.
1, 2, 3, 4.
The podcast where tech minds meet.
Oh, hey, before we get started today, don't forget to subscribe and ring that bell.
Welcome back to the Tech Panel, where we dive into the latest innovations, trends, and game changers shaping the world of business, media, technology. I'm Arvin.
And I'm Sarah Bowers, and today we're chatting with Jean Criss, who has over 25 years of experience in media, technology, and e-commerce. She now runs a fashion label and media consultancy.
So we'll dive into all things entrepreneurship, media, and marketing in an ever-changing digital world. This is the Tech Panel. Jean, welcome to the show. How are you?
Welcome.
Real good. Thank you so much for having me today.
Well, it's an absolute pleasure to have you. I'm glad you managed to stay up a little bit late on the other side of the world there.
Over in New Jersey, is that correct?
That's correct. I wish I was on your sunny side of the world.
We wish we were here too.
Warm up here.
It's beautiful over here. So firstly, Jean, you have such a, I guess, you're a jack of all trades, it almost seems. You've got a wealth of experience. Tell us a little bit about your experience, where you've come from, what you've been doing, some of your businesses in e-commerce. Yeah, give us the backstory.
Okay, sure. Well, I started in the corporate world and I started in technology. And I did that for a while and moved into media and publishing. And I really enjoyed that, and I learned a lot throughout my corporate experience. Moved into sales leadership roles. I started in the Midwest and then moved out to the Northeast in New England, worked out of the Boston and Cambridge area for a while, and Rhode Island, and then got recruited out to the New York market. And I've been out here for a number of years. And since I moved out this way, I was in television, and I had worked in print and online and digital media. And I've really stayed in the media world for quite a while. For the past 12 years or so, I've started my own business, Jean Criss Media. And I also then started a fashion line called Crisscross Intimates. So I manage both right now and working on some other brand innovation. So that's kind of my background in a quick wrap. But I enjoy being an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I love that you're still juggling two very different industries with fashion and media. I had read a little bit about e-commerce. So had you owned some e-commerce businesses? Tell me a little about that.
Yes. Yeah, so I've actually managed I launched about 4 different e-commerce businesses. While I was in the corporate marketplace, I had launched a fashion jewelry business. And that was called Beaded Baubles. And I had launched that business and managed that for about 7 years and created and designed my own jewelry line. And then I shut that down. And then when I went into my own business with Jean Criss Media, a full-service creative media agency, I have designed all of my own websites and done all of my own media and marketing based on my experience and know-how in that industry. And I also did that with the fashion line with Crisscross Intimates. And I did that with a mobile device that I also created. I created the website. It didn't go live because I was waiting to produce the product, but I have a utility patent for that product. And that's kind of on the sidelines and one of my brand innovations that I've done. But and then I've created different types of sites and e-commerce work for clients. So whether it be, social media pages where we've done e-commerce from those sites, or we've done different type of social media management and promotion from the social platforms. Yeah.
And so who are you working with at the moment? Like, who are some of the clients that you're working with in terms of the media side of things?
Yes. So actually, I started, as I mentioned, about 2011 when I launched my business, and I had started with local retailers, and at the time, I launched into um, local retailers for uh, wine and food and festivals and general retailers, healthcare, automotive. It was really the industries that I was familiar with coming from cable television, but they were new clienteles. Was in a non-compete situation, so I went after brand new business starting from the ground up and healthcare, education. And then I was diagnosed with breast cancer. So I kind of had to take a stop with the media and outbound reach of clientele, take care of myself. And then while I was doing that, I realized I wanted to launch my own brand. So I created the Crisscross Intimates fashion brand, and I actually had to table my clientele for the media brand. So I put my efforts for media and marketing into my own fashion brand. And so now that I'm kind of pivoting again over the past year or so, getting back into rebuilding the brand for Jean Criss Media and outbound marketing for that. But I have been working with some AI partners and really partnering to grow the media side of the business. So I don't have clients per se to share with you right now, but I am growing that side of the business as I'm also developing new technology for both media and the fashion brand. So it's kind of additional research that I'm doing that will expand for future clientele.
Yeah, it's the juggle and adapting and you're keeping up with the times. I'm really quite interested in media and tech. I come from a traditional media background, working for the networks here in Australia, and Arvin comes from tech. So we're both interested in that side of things. I mean, technology and media coming from cable TV, like, is tech killing traditional media? What are your thoughts on, I guess, technology and media at the moment in the landscape?
Yes. You know, it's so funny you asked that because last week I had a conversation with uh, uh, an organization that runs a online television show,
Mm.
and they're recruiting me to be a host on a TV show that also does podcasting and things. And you know, they're saying TV isn't dead, but you know, since e-commerce and since AI and many of the new emerging technologies that are out there, television has taken a hit, and print has taken a hit, and online and e-commerce is booming. And you know, the way people shop, the way people buy, the way people, you know, do their research, and you know, even just reading the news, most of it is online.
Mm.
And so if you're not online, and I'm not saying that you can't be in multi-platforms, multi-mediums, but you know, it's important depending on the product, the program, or the service that you're offering. It all depends on where I think you should be.
Mm.
So I wouldn't say that, you know, television is dead whatsoever. I'm still a huge fan of it. But I think it depends on what you're promoting, and also depends on your budget. I mean, let's face it, if you want to be in prime time, you need much larger budgets. So for startup organizations, it's not a consideration. I mean, even local cable TV, you probably know that, you know, it's still an expense. So I think the most cost-effective way to launch is online and doing different types of things, you know, whether that be social media promotion or other ways to get your name out there.
Mm. I mean, I know we want to talk a little bit more about the tech and business side of things, but just selfishly, I want to delve into this a little more because I think that the storytelling of mainstream media, you know, is important. Like, there's actually, you know, there's an art form to, you know, long form storytelling, which you know, media still have it. Even Netflix and whatnot, you know, there's sometimes good shows and good storytelling on the streaming platforms. But what are your thoughts on, you know, the regulations around it? So traditional media has always had, you know, regulations in terms of what you can advertise. If you advertise a product over in Australia, it has to be approved first. It has to be justified that that product does what it's saying to do. Whereas social and online, there's like it's lawless almost. You can advertise something that doesn't exist, and so there's that trust in the brand. So there's do you still think that mainstream media is more trustworthy than social, or what are you seeing in that landscape?
Yeah. Well, you're right. It doesn't come up as much, if you're promoting a product. And I think it's important to protect your brand. There's no doubt about it. You should have intellectual property. I think if you're the brand proprietor and the owner, absolutely, you should protect your brand and have those regulations in place. I know a lot of people that don't and just go out there. They might have something to promote and they don't have those regulations. I mean, I know podcasters that go out there and repurpose and, produce, um, you know, uh, different types of content from those types of shows. And, or, they there may be people that promote products on the air or online and don't have really the real rights to do that. So I think, they should be concerned because anybody can pick up the phone and call them and, or send them something in the mail and, shut down their business. So, regulations are there for a reason. And, if you're going to do things, even with having the right disclaimers on your website, I think it's important to do that. So, you know, I think just the word to the wary is, be cautious and try to do things the right way because it's going to catch up.
When we think back to a lot of the past people that were in similar experiences of yourself, where you're starting lots of various businesses, touching in various industries, at least in my experience, they tend to fall into two camps. People that say, startups fail because of bad ideas or it's a result of bad execution. When you look at your success in industry, where do you fall in? Do you think it's because you specialize in providing an excellent product? Or do you think that you just excel in execution and you're someone that delivers?
Or is it all marketing,
True.
Yeah, that as well. Yeah.
Well, I think in order to thrive with a new e-commerce business, it takes a few different factors. Building good customer satisfaction, I think a sustainable, client base and having that authenticity, not just even in yourself, but in your product or your service that you're offering, I think means a lot. And having that track record to go along with it. Having customer reviews and testimonials that says a lot to your brand, your name, and what you represent. I think you should build that endorsement history. Having the product quality, I think, is really important. Keeping your product quality up there and promoting that to distinguish yourself from the competitors is important. If you're offering through e-commerce a product that you're selling, I think, that's when the system itself comes into play, making sure that, you're able to have the security on the system, that, your payment processing is going through, that people can trust the system that they're working with and make sure that, their credit cards are going through properly and it's a safe system to work with. The customer satisfaction will be built based on that. And a strong social media presence, SEO building, using the right tools to make sure the market presence is there will also help build that strong brand awareness. So I think if you incorporate all of those key factors into, building a brand as a startup, your business should thrive. I think a lot of companies fail as a startup when they have, inventory mismanagement, or they're not, using the proper tools with the web development, or they have a weak management system. Maybe it's the infrastructure or the system itself. And the user experience is just a poor experience.
Sure.
So, yeah, that's really what I have to say.
I guess from your perspective, I'm curious here. Do you find that being an entrepreneur is all that it's chalked up to be? Do you think people over romanticize the idea of running their own organization and being accountable only to themselves? What are some lessons or key takeaways from your experience running all these various organizations? I'm especially interested in what's your gut reaction when you first hear someone say, "Ooh, I want to start a business." Like, well, what's the first thing that goes to through your mind when you hear someone say that?
Yeah. Well, most people think it's a great idea. Yeah, that cachet is definitely there. They think it's really exciting. And then the reality hits home.
Hmm.
They realize, well, gosh, how am I going to make money at this? What am I going to do? But a lot of people might try it. They might take that idea and try to create a business, or they just start promoting a product, right? They may not even have the product. They just start promoting
Yep.
this idea. But, I think it's important to build it out, have your strategy in place, and build that strategy, or build the plan with the strategy in place, because you need the A to Z. You need all of that covered, because um, you don't want to go to market and not have everything checked off and
Sure.
have everything put into place, because that's when the failures start to occur. And it's okay to fail. You do learn from your mistakes. But when you're already public and you've published your site, you've already gone out there, you're going to ruin your own brand name and product awareness out there before you even get started. So I think planning and doing things the right way is really important. I always say, first create your idea, create your trademark, protect yourself, protect your brand with the right IP, and get your team in place, and strategically plan it out. It's not that you have to go crazy and hire a full-time staff and go into debt. There's different ways to do it. That's the way I did it. I've bootstrapped my businesses from the get-go, and I've just subcontracted, resources as needed in order to move forward. And so a lot of people don't realize that you can do things different ways. It doesn't have to be, getting an office on Fifth Avenue and, going big, before you really have the right resources to make that happen. So, a lot of planning goes into it, and, and just taking it one step at a time.
I was going to say, how has technology, I guess, helped entrepreneurs start out? I know that you can use AI to create a content plan, to create a business plan, things like that. How is technology, helping entrepreneurs in your eyes?
Yes. Well, obviously, AI has helped with automation for a lot of companies and businesses, but I think the automation of using content creation is a way to help with identifying your individual preferences and then being able to shape that for your business. So, being able to determine what is my message, what is the content that needs to be promoted, and then how to go to market with that information, and what are those media platforms to do that. So, knowing what that value is, and that value proposition, and then being able to, define to the market, who's your target audience and what do they need to know? Kind of put yourself in their shoes and ask yourself, what do you need to know? And what do you need to know in order to buy my product? What would you need to know to buy, one of my post-surgical bras, or what would you need to know to buy one of my media services? Because if I'm not putting myself in your shoes, then I'm not really understanding what the client needs are. So as you develop, or determine what tools you're going to use, I think you really need to understand from the client perspective, um, your audience, and then obviously the demographics and, what your reach is and all of that. And then you can then go shopping for the right tools to determine the right technologies to use. I've always done that, and I use a lot of different technology and software. I was, just in thinking about that in prep for this show, I was really kind of overwhelming myself just thinking about all the different apps that I do really use on a daily basis. And actually thinking about how many different passwords that I have for all of these different apps because it can be overwhelming. It is a lot, and just staying on top of all of the different technology that's out there.
But always keeping that audience and client in mind, as you were saying, that sounds like it's quite driven by who your audience is and who your client is, and then building on that. What are some of the tools that you're using at the moment and the technologies that you think are great?
For any particular category or what?
I guess,
Anything?
yeah, whatever category you
Um,
think you'd want
well,
to
you know,
spruik.
like, well, we're using the Zencaster right now for the media platform. I haven't used that before, but I use Zoom Workplace a lot. A lot of my clients, reach out to me for, the video conferencing, whether it's Microsoft Teams or Google Meets or some of the common ones. WebEx, GoToMeetings is not as popular anymore. I use a variety of social media platform media managers. I use Hootsuite, but there's a lot of other ones that are out there like Sprout and um, Social Sprout and oh gosh, now I'm going to draw a blank. Um, Social Bee, I think Buffer, Sendable, Ladder. There's a variety of different CRMs I use for creative apps. I love Canva. A lot of these apps now have an AI twist to them.
Yeah.
So you can incorporate AI, but that you don't have to use them.
Mhm.
So I like, testing some of the AI capabilities in some of the familiar apps that I've been using for a while. I like promo.com for a video app. But there's, traditional apps that are out there that, I've been using for quite a while with AI, Ideogram and Gamma, and I'm using specific fashion apps. Uh, what are they called? Uh, Rare Sense, and just a variety of other ones that you can create graphics without having to do full photo shoots and things like that. So you have to test for what your niche market requirements are, and then just give them a try. And if they work, then you stick with it, and if not, try something different. I do enjoy trying new technologies, and the way that I keep up on them is by learning, and I'm constantly learning and attending different webinars and events and marketplace programs where I learn about these technologies, and I may even attend different online training sessions, master classes, things like that, so that I can become an expert at them, or I can, either champion them myself or, adapt to the technology and see if it's the right product for me. And so that's really how I've gotten exposed to some of these technologies. Um, so yeah, just kind of keeping up with your industry, and also with your competitors. Networking is a great way to you know learn about new tools as well.
Yeah, and see what everyone else is doing in the industry. You touched on it there when you mentioned, things like Canva, as a product that's been used in the past and is now adapted and incorporating AI. I know that Canva can do auto-generated images and graphics and things like that as well.
Mhm.
Do you think that AI is killing creativity in terms of the fact that you can just now, you don't need to have a photo shoot, you don't need to have graphic artists creating content. It can be created by AI, and then that can be used in your marketing campaign or your social campaign.
Yeah. No, I really think that it's boosting your skill set and allowing you to use it more as a productivity tool. It enhances what you're able to do. I'm able to do more now than I ever did before.
Mm.
I don't have a graphics degree,
Mm.
and I never, studied that in college or, took classes on my own for that. But I feel like I'm not too bad at it. So I've obviously won some awards with what I do. But, I think if you, just kind of put pen to paper and, take the time to learn some of these apps, they're not that difficult.
True.
And, the user experience is pretty good and pretty quick and easy with a lot of the tools now that, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to try to, learn some of these apps or some of the features within them. And, I have learned a lot of the features in Canva on my own, but it doesn't say that I'm not going to pull in, a graphics expert when needed.
Mhm.
I know what my limitations are. I know maybe what my limitations are with an app and when to pick up the phone and call, a resource when I know I want to take this a next step, right? I want to go further with the results of what I'm looking for and then bring in additional resources. And so that's what I think as an entrepreneur, you need to know, like when you need to pull in outside resources to make things happen. And, you can't do everything yourself. And you can also waste a lot of time trying to do a lot of that yourself without, outsourcing and pulling in outside resources. So, yeah, but there are a lot of tools out there that have really made a lot of enhancements over the past year. In fact, I've seen a lot of progress in that area
With these
that we didn't
tools,
have
do you,
before.
oh, sorry, there was a delay there. My
That's right.
apologies.
Go ahead.
With these tools, do you feel, and maybe I'm wrong in assuming this, but at least in my experience, it used to feel like the cream would always float to the top as far as product was concerned and what you would see when you searched for something. And now, because all these various tools, like you describe, exist and anyone can take advantage of these, I feel like I almost never have the ability to trust what I find in my search results. And we get a lot more false positives and things that we purchase. Like sometimes you'll get something and you'll be like, this is like quarter of the size of what it looked like when I looked for it, or the quality is way off, or any of these things. Because if you think about it, these AI tools have the ability to significantly enhance how something can look and over polish a turd, for lack of a better word, right? Do you feel that we're going to have declining results in the output of quality products entering into the market? And how do you separate yourself from all of these other people that are just liars, for lack of a better word, Like, how often have you personally been burned by products that looked or purported to be something that otherwise wasn't?
I can't say that I have. What I can say is that I can distinguish an AI image from a non-AI image. And maybe it's just because I'm working with them so much that I can tell like what looks like a real traditional graphic image, photography image, real stock photo image versus an AI based image. And I think, maybe it's because we haven't perfected the AI images enough as, users of AI that to me they stand out. But, maybe it's going to get there where those blurred lines become, all one.
I mean, I'm definitely on Arvin's bandwagon in terms of things that you buy. Everything is a Temu product over here when you try to search something.
Yeah.
Or it's, it's a TikTok video about, a great new, washing detergent sheets, and my husband bought it and he's like, oh, it's got great reviews, and it's shit.
Yeah, it's the worst.
Shit.
It's
And
the
he's
worst
like, well,
product
how does
I've
it have
ever
that
seen.
many
Yeah.
reviews? I'm like, who's crediting these reviews?
That's
They're
what I
not
mean.
real. Like, you get kind of very easily deceived in today's sort of marketing.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't have the quality control over it and the fact checking, and anyone pulling anyone up on TikTok saying, oh, you can't sell that because that's not actually doing the right thing. Like they're not getting
again,
pulled
like,
up on that.
These tools make it look like they're
Yeah.
highly, backed financially by angel investors and things like that. Like the production value on some of these things are substantially better than like I don't know what a really good mom and pop place is that produces an actual solid product, but don't know how to utilize technology.
Oh.
I wonder if we're just going to get sort of swamped in
I think so.
white noise of people that are just taking advantage of all these really awesome tools.
I've literally gone backwards from online purchasing, and I now go to the shops again more
I'm
than
from
ever
full circle
before
too,
because I'm like,
Right.
it's
Yeah.
or something on Amazon, but I have to check the reviews. But even then, I'm like, kind of trust Amazon, but not really. But I know that I could probably send it back if it wasn't what it was supposed to be. But I don't. Yeah, I'm very, very skeptical of any advertising, anything. So I just go to the shops these days and
I
feel
was
it and
just
try it
gonna
on and
say,
buy it that way.
Absolutely.
I've gone like full circle of doing that. And almost I'm doing the same with media, but I'm quite biased in that sense that, anything I can't stand watching the fakeness and the shit
Yep.
on TikTok and on socials and untrustworthy news. I try to just go to, a couple of sources that I trust and that I know now.
Yep.
But on that note of, the untrustworthiness and I mean, today's storytelling on socials and, the algorithms are so set up for just, it's clickbait, it's sensationalized or it's dramatic or it's something quite over the top. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, do you have to I think everyone keeps having to up their ante, even if it's a product that they don't want to do that. That's not part of their brand message to really like oversell it and to have to do a clickbait thing. But is that the only way to now get any eyeballs on it?
Good question.
Yeah. Well, to your point, Sarah, I think the sponsored ads are over the top. And, when that does happen, if you're seeing things that don't look real or, it's questionable and you're leery about it, I always myself feel comfortable to go back to the brand. And it may not even be the e-commerce site, like go directly to the brand if you know the brand name and see if, what you learn there. It's not that you have to buy it from the brand on that site, but at least to check things out, as you mentioned, the fact checking, whether it looks this way or it's priced this way or, it's functioning this way. But, from the social media perspective, I have not been using TikTok. And so I think, in fact, even today I got asked twice by TikTok, to join their platform. I think it all depends on what type of products you're offering, whether you should be on those platforms. And, I've stayed away from it because I don't need to be there. Maybe I should. Maybe I'd have a huge boost. But, it's also as a small startup, I can only be on so many platforms at one time. But I think, it started out for certain products and now everybody's just throwing everything out there. And so really, are they going to be looking for, certain niche type of products there? And you can't make everything fun. Some products, like what I'm selling, is a serious product for breast cancer. So, I think that it all depends on the product, the service, the promotion, whatever it is that you're marketing makes, getting back to what we talked about before, it really drives your decision on where you should be marketing the product. And you shouldn't just be there because everybody else is there. You need to spend your dollars where it's most effective, and the most effective marketing plan for you based on what it is that you're offering. So it gets back to, the basics of that marketing strategy that you put together at the beginning.
Based on the audience, like for example, if younger demographics are on TikTok, then and your product is an older demographic, then you wouldn't market it on there as such. But I still think even on Instagram or social media or Facebook or any of the other social medias, it how do you cut through the algorithms to be seen? If you had a client, say for example, you're using your own business as a client, or say you've got a client and you're being their media advisor, and you are, setting up a content plan for them. How do you cut through those algorithms to be seen?
Yes. Well, good example is I'm right now learning about the gaming industry. I have known nothing about it. My son has been a gamer and, bought him all of the tools and things when he was younger. And I never really took it upon myself to learn about gaming. And now in the fashion industry, I want to learn about gaming. I think, I want to learn about skins and, what it's all about. And so I've attended some marketing sessions, whatever you want to call them. And then I've actually gotten involved in some market research. And in learning about the gaming industry, I have learned the demographic isn't what I perceived it to be. I just assumed it was, the young 18, 21, 25-year-olds that were really using the games.
And mainly
When I
male,
learned,
but now it's
yeah,
females.
the
A lot of
demographic,
females in there. Yeah.
just in general across all markets, it's like 35 and up. I would have never have thought that, so you need to dive into, your market research for your audience. Again, it's really just knowing, if you want to look into new technology, you really need to look into the market and the market data because it tells you something. So, and again, that's, going back to some of the basics, but it really, before you decide if you're going to go on one social media platform or another, that data is there.
So do you come up with just curious, make sure I got this right. You're not implying that you look at data first and come up with ideas after. I'm assuming you have an idea first and you look at the data to see if it'll float.
Yes, I do. And you don't have to do this for every single product or company that you work with, but if it's something that's questionable, obviously, or if it's a new market and there's question about whether you should pursue this as a new market, I would certainly do the research, if you needed to. Or if
And
a
you've got
client
your
asked.
market and your audience in mind from the start, or who you think it might be.
But treat me like I'm an idiot right now. I think I have an idea. I'm the person I believe is going to be the best person at selling mugs with images on it.
Mhm.
Everyone always says, look up the data. What does that even mean? Where do I get data? How are people finding data? And what are the data points that you're looking for to really help you decide which direction you should take your business?
Well, for coffee mugs, I guess,
It's
go
going to take over
to,
the world for the record.
what's that?
This is going to take over the world for the record.
I don't know. I guess for the coffee mugs, looking at your distribution channels for mugs and looking at, the information of where you buy that type of product. Where do you buy the mugs and what type of data is out there? The industry has a lot of market research out there. You if you Google it, you can find out, the top half a dozen market research reports that are out there for your niche market, and then drill down. You might need to buy the research if it was really that imperative to you to learn about the coffee mugs and the logos. But you can also hire an agency to do that for you, such as Jean Criss Media. So, it really starts with just, doing some target marketing and research about the brand.
So it's still a little bit, you got to know where to look if you want to be able to
You gotta
find
know
the
where to look.
information.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So for the average
yeah.
person out there, it still requires, I'd say, a bit of skill. You're not just going to be able to.
I reckon you can Google. You can say, who are the people buying this product? Where can I
Yeah.
buy this from? You can Google that and you'd be able to find it. What are
Where
the
the
best?
manufacturers
Yeah,
in
what
the
are the best
US,
platforms to
where in my
advertise
region.
this on, etc. Who? What? My target audience is 35 years old. Where would I market my product to a
Mhm.
35-year-old? So you can Google, but you could
That's
also
a very specific question for Google.
But you can also just put in ChatGPT, and it will come up
Yes.
with a really specific kind of content plan or strategy for you, or marketing strategy. Like I've done that recently, and I'm so impressed with everything it can come up with. It's wild. Oh, we've got a
But then you should verify some of that
yes. Oh
information
gosh,
too.
yes, yeah. You still research and verify.
Yes.
We have a delivery. So here we have a
Doesn't
question
look like
from
a coffee mug.
yeah, it's a coffee mug. A question from a viewer. So
Oh,
let's have a look. Okay, so we get questions on our and everyone's free to, email us or, comment on our socials or even on our YouTube channels, and they always have all different sorts of questions. So this one here, if you had to swap careers for a day with anyone, past or present, who would it be and what would you do?
Wow, that's a very interesting question. Hmm. I don't know about swapping careers. I guess I might have a different idea of doing something different. People don't know this about me. I was going to start my career and be a choreographer.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, this was many moons ago, right? Yeah, dance was my passion, and maybe that's my creativity, my creative side coming out now in different ways. But yeah, I was a dancer, and for a number of years, did all of it: ballet, tap, jazz, chorus line, all that. And I dreamed of having my own dance studio and yeah, being a choreographer. And then things took a change with my life.
Yeah. As
And
it does.
somehow I moved into media and tech
Yeah.
and then fashion.
But watching your face light up when you reminisce about that, like you could tell it's a passion of yours.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I've dabbled in it. I've kept up on it for a number of years just as a hobby.
Yeah.
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 But yeah.
Lovely. Oh, isn't that nice?
I did not know
I
that.
throw a dagger at you. But you
Yeah,
accepted,
yeah.
right?
I mean, it makes me think of quite a personal question here for you on off the back of that. But when you're thinking about what your dreams were and your aspirations were, when you were younger and what you were working towards, and then life takes a hold and kids and all sorts of things happen along the way. But when you did get that breast cancer diagnosis, as you said, you kind of had to take stock. Did you kind of reevaluate, whether you were going to continue along the same trajectory or whether you just do something completely different? Like, how was that process for you?
Yeah. No, that's a great question. Actually, I did kind of do a 360 at that time. I was in the corporate world. My last corporate job was in cable television, leading a large multiple sales teams in the New York market, and didn't expect to get laid off. So it happened when I was actually going through a divorce. I was diagnosed with breast cancer at the same time. And then, also having to deal with putting together a co-parenting plan and being the primary caregiver and primary custody, um, and fighting for all of that at the same time. It was kind of a very difficult time of my life, very challenging. And that's when I made that decision. I actually decided not to go back to corporate. Within 30 days, I launched my media agency. And, it's funny, I ran into my former VP of sales at cable TV, a year or two after that. And he's like, you had this plan, you had this planned. And I said, no, I didn't. Just things happen for a reason. And I just knew what to do and figured it out. And, I made it happen very quickly. But, and the same thing happened when I created the fashion brand. It only took me like 18 months to create things from start to finish. And, people in the fashion industry couldn't believe that I was able to do that. But I think when you know what to do and how to go about doing it, you get things done and you don't waste a lot of time and you just kind of stay focused on that and, move that pendulum forward. And that's what I did. And that's what I did with my life and my family and, stayed focused on that and stayed focused on healing and getting well. And, you have these buckets and you just kind of, make sure that that bucket gets taken care of and, you just keep pushing forward. And that's really how I handled, the adjustments with my life. It was quite a few adjustments and, that continued. And the way I healed personally was I wrote and I became an author from that because it was very cathartic. And I wrote a lot of my books, which are about my life story. And now I have 5 books about my life that really helped me to grow as a person. And I put my ideas to paper and I published them. I also, took my publishing experience and self-published all of them. And that really helped me grow with my business too, because that was actually at the time too when I had, to put my clients on the back burner. And so I kept up with my technology that way as well, because I was able to, do my own graphics and do my own writing and self-publishing. And that kept me, leading edge with what I was doing, even though it was for myself, but it was for new brands that I was bringing to the market.
I love that you managed to turn, such a difficult time into something cathartic or a passion that I guess ultimately moved you forward in a different direction. So that the fashion line itself, so the fashion line, that was born out of a necessity or a passion as well in terms of your personal situation.
Yes. Yes, exactly. Yeah. I mean, I was already through it by that time, but, I wanted to make sure that products were more contemporary and innovative in the market for other survivors, because I just really disliked what I wore throughout all of my surgeries. And so I really wanted to fashion forward the marketplace. And that's what I did.
So tell me a little
And
bit
I'm continuing to.
about what that business is and how that was born.
Yes. So, I really, my journey was about 4 years, and I had bilateral breast cancer and I didn't like what I wore at all. And so I was in the hospital once for 10 days. I got MRSA, which is a bacterial infection. And so you're, pretty much isolated. And I just decided to sketch, even though I'm not a graphics designer, as I mentioned, sketch some pretty, archaic designs of what I would like to have worn throughout my recovery. And I ended up creating a full utility patented line of designs for what's now called crisscross intimates. And I ended up, coming to market with a couple of those designs already, and many are not in the market yet. But I did create samples of some of the other designs that I had, uh, drawn at that time. Anyway, but that's how the innovation started. Now, what I'm working on that I'm happy to share with you is working on new wearable technology with blockchain. And, people are like, what? What does that mean? But let's say, wouldn't it be great if you could, say to your daughter or say to a loved one of yours, wear this bra and let the bra determine if you may have breast cancer in the future. Amazing, right? And I want to, come out with a product like that where, you may have sensors in the bra that can sense, the fluids in your body, the tumors in your body, that sort of thing. And I'm doing that type of research right now, and will introduce that type of a product. So I'm doing really advanced technology type things that's how passionate I am about it.
Yeah.
It's not just about the e-commerce, business. It's really about growing the industry to take huge strides to eradicate breast cancer and be able to help people that can, live much better quality life, because mine wasn't so great at the time. I mean, yes, I'm a survivor, but I went through many surgeries that I didn't really feel were necessary if it had been caught earlier and, had different tools available at the time.
Yeah. So like prevention, you've got a product there that helps after the fact, but it's also,
Yeah,
you're putting
it's for diagnosis and to accelerate recovery. Exactly. It's for both.
And
yeah,
I guess that kind of brings me on to a little bit of the philanthropy as well, of what you're doing. I know that you're quite passionate about the breast cancer, world and research there as well, but you're also, looking to empower women in business as well. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I work with, many organizations with women in business and women empowerment, and, just many global leadership organizations. I'm a senior executive fellow with the Digital Economist as well. There I work with the digital assets and the blockchain that I'm talking about, and editorial. I've stayed working with many different women organizations, whether they be philanthropic or not, but just women leadership. And a lot of these organizations have inspired me, but also hopefully I've inspired some of them with my innovations and some of the things that I'm doing, that it's a real true collaboration. I met a lot of the women that I've met through the years at Davos this year um, at their annual conference with the World Economic Forum. I was really thrilled to be invited to that. And it was really great to meet some of these women leaders from around the world that I have, either communicated with on LinkedIn or, in global webinars and things over the years, and to be able to, meet them face to face and, have a chat with them, talking about what they're doing and, just, get closer with communications with them. So yeah, I continue to do that. And, I try to inspire others and keep growing that network.
That's lovely. I love that. So we always ask, what is like the one piece of technology that you couldn't live without, or one piece of software in your, I guess, work life that is you couldn't live without? Could be one or two.
Gee.
People always find it hard to pick one. Like,
Yes. Oh, gosh. I don't know if I have just one.
Yeah, you
because
can
I
list a
have
couple.
a robust list of technology.
Yeah, as you kind of covered before. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess
Maybe for the media side of things. So, I guess your media advising, like what is something that you're always using with clients? I mean, apart from email or something like that, like is it Hootsuite or something like that?
I don't know. There's apps, there's media placement services. Oh my goodness. I guess, just I'm going to give you a generic answer. Digital marketing is just a category,
Yep.
very general category, but, it's digital marketing is the way to go. And, the way it can incorporate many different platforms, apps, tools, etc., that you can use.
Maybe let's make
Excuse me.
this a little bit more pointed.
Well, that's like, I guess, as an
Mhm.
That's it.
entrepreneur or anyone, you need digital marketing.
Sure.
Like the digital marketing is the way to go with anything.
If you had to restart your business, or if you had to recommend to someone that's going into a similar industry, which digital marketing platform would you recommend to them?
Oh, for an e-commerce platform?
Yep, sure. E-commerce.
Well, I created my sites on Squarespace. Initially, I probably wouldn't have created them on Squarespace if I knew at the time I was going to have a shopping site. But now, 10 years later, Squarespace has enhanced their sites that are their tools with to make them more user friendly and to have a lot of templates that are available for shopping sites. I'm committed to stay with Squarespace, so that's what I use. But Shopify is a great tool that's out there, so I would recommend both of those. I have worked with Wix. I have worked with WordPress. I don't find those to be as user friendly. So, but there's a lot of other sites that are out there that, are quick and easy. It all depends on, again, what you're trying to put out there in the market, but, and how many pages you have for your web page, your website. But yeah, I'd probably start with looking at that first, if you're going to develop a e-commerce site, take a look at the templates and what their capabilities are.
And if I could paraphrase that there, you're saying Shopify is a great standalone product, but if you're looking to build a website that has the same, maybe not as great version, maybe a dumbed down version of a good version, you could use Squarespace that comes with its own
Squarespace
built-in.
has like a lot of add-ons as well now as well. So you can like,
Squarespace,
it's great.
It's
Yeah.
great because the plug and play is real easy. I find it much easier than Shopify. So I recommend Squarespace first and foremost.
There we go. Okay.
Yeah. And then secondly, Shopify. But if you're just looking for a quick and easy shopping site without other type of content, then, Shopify is a great site for that.
Love it.
Beautiful. And now where can people find you?
Yes. So they can go to Jean at jeancrissmedia.com. And my website is jeancrissmedia.com. There you'll find a consulting page. I offer a free 15-minute consultation. I also have speaking engagements, podcasts if they'd like to bring me on board as a guest host or for a speaking engagement. I'm available. And you'll find my blog posts and my books available there as well.
Perfect.
And
Fabulous.
Crisscross Intimates is my fashion site as well.
Great.
And
And
I'm
LinkedIn
available on
and
most sites as well.
can they find you on LinkedIn as well?
Yes,
Yep.
LinkedIn, it's Jean-Criss.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Jean. It's been a pleasure talking with you today. We've really appreciated it. I've personally been interested in this sort of media landscape as well. Yeah, it's been great to have you on the Tech
Thanks,
Panel.
Sarah and Ivan. Nice to meet you too.
Nice to meet you. Have a lovely evening.
Thank you.
Ciao, ciao, Jean. Bye.
Megan, don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Thanks for tuning in to the Tech Panel. If you like what you heard, make sure to subscribe on YouTube and follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn to stay connected. A big thank you to our major sponsor, TraffTrack, for powering today's episode, and join us again on the next episode of the Tech Panel, where tech minds meet.